morning to everybody. So we're beginning our Lotus Sutra review, and once again, it's very happy to see everybody up and early and being very diligent in understanding and learning the meanings of Dharma. And I'm very also happy to see that not only is everybody listening to Master's teaching, but also are gathering afterwards to discuss and to have the opportunity to share and mutually benefit. And I think this is it's wonderful in that that's what Dharma really is. And that's what we're going to talk about today. But still, I think it's wonderful. And yesterday, from the teleconferencing between Master and also our Singapore brothers and sisters, one of the key things other than the COVID-19 situation was the diligence in pursuing and understanding and learning the Dharma. And you can visibly see that Master was very happy and joyous, especially hearing that the disciples and the volunteers are so happy and willingly learning and wanting more Dharma and also practicing the Dharma. So I think it's this feeling, this aspiration of wanting to do more. I think that's really the key. Not so much what we have already accomplished, but that drive is something that really can keep this entire organization and also Master to be more healthy in a way, content. Okay, so now we're moving on to today's sharing. So last week we talked about what Master said on the first day of the morning Dharma talk, and talked about that chapter 20 of the Lotus Sutra was already enough. We dive into a little bit about if chapter 20 was enough, then why do we still need chapter 21 through 28? Why did the Buddha didn't just stop there and on 20, right? So obviously there are some other reasons, and obviously there was a reason why for continuing, and obviously there was a reason why Master thought that chapter 20 was enough. So last week we talked about why it was enough, because chapter 20 has the embodiment of whatever we talked about in the Lotus Sutra and also in the Sutra of Infinite Meanings. And I sort of categorized these into 4 different parts, into a very simple, straightforward path that the Never Sliding Bodhisattva from chapter 20 showed us. And these are the 4 different key aspects that in anything in life, to achieve anything in life, we need to have. And we see that these embodiment exactly happening in chapter 20. So before, it was more theory. It was more about the ideas, about getting rid of the afflictions. And now it's talking about a person in real life, or let's just say in real life, walking this path and all the difficulties that he or she might encounter. And how do you overcome that? How do you adjust, and how do you move on from one obstacle to the other? And how do you set your goal, and how do you achieve it? So this is what we talked about last week about. These are the 4 things that we got from chapter 20, right? The first thing is goal in life, making sure that you have set a very clear goal for your achievement, for your life. And for Never Sliding Bodhisattva, it was to make sure that everybody gets this very important message that you all can become the Buddha. Don't feel that you're never going to get there, but you all can become one. So what did he do? He continued diligently and persevered through all the difficulties, right? He kept on going to everybody, bowed to everybody, telling them that they will become the Buddha. And even after people were not friendly to him, even after people were not, they were very negative about it, but he still continued. And he endured through all of this. And at the time of his need, when he was about to show a little bit tiring and a little bit, thinking about giving up, then there are the words and whispers from miles and very, very far away, the reminders from his teacher about why he needs to continue, and then he got his motivation back again. So these are very true. I mean, I'm not sure if Never Sliding Bodhisattva was really a person, but that wasn't the point. The point was, this is something that can understandably happen while someone is trying to achieve the goals. So that's what it is true also in our lives, right? Because in our lives, you set a goal and then you understand how to get there. And then along the way, you make adjustments. And then when something happens, how do you overcome the adjustment? So that's what we talked about in the last week. Okay, so this week we're going to talk about, we're trying to merge the QAs, because I see the questions and I really want to get to the questions, because the questions themselves is one way for us to communicate. And I think that seeing the questions, and I really enjoy the questions. So it's just one way to answer the questions. It's not the only way, but I think there are many levels of approaching these questions. But it's just one way for me to bring up. So this week we're going to talk about what is Dharma, and incorporating recent talks by the master in the morning talk. And then we're going to get into the QA. So first thing is, what is Dharma? So this is something that last week I did some sharings about what is Dharma, because recent events, especially Master's morning Dharma talk, really gave us the opportunity to self-reflect, right? Master talks about this is the time for us to find ourselves, because all the things are quieting down, right? Everybody is many countries are going through lockdown. And it is time for us to contemplate, other than being grateful, other than repenting. It is also time for us to 静思, to reflect and to contemplate. So one of the things that I contemplate about was, do I really understand what the role that I'm on, the goal that I'm pursuing? Do I really understand what I am pursuing? I'm pursuing the knowledge or the understanding or the application of Dharma, but do I really understand what Dharma is? And before we get into what Dharma is, this is something that I really believe in. Before we talk about Dharma, I really think that we need to first understand that in this world, we are all connected. We're all connected to everybody. We're not just single entity. We're connected to everybody, just like you are connected to me right now, because I'm talking and you're listening, and because you are there, I'm here. We are connected because we realize and we acknowledge each other's existence. We are connected, okay? You're an entity, I'm an entity, but we are connected. No one is ever separated or disconnected from the world. There are only people that refuse to recognize the connection, but we are all connected, okay? So how are we connected, right? Each individual is connected to every other individual, to every other living being, right? To all the objects and all the things, and to this world as a whole. And I think no time in the history of mankind did we ever experience something like COVID-19, right? It binds everybody together. There isn't another thing. Like, even if you talk about the Second World War, that war, yeah, there are many people that die and many countries involved, but there are also other countries that are not involved. And there are many countries that are trying to stay neutral about, with all this war that is going on. But this COVID-19, it just hits everybody, right? Whether you have it, whether you don't have it, whether it's a place where it hasn't gone to yet, people are afraid of it, right? So it's the same thing, that we're all connected, whether you like it or not. We're all connected. You and I, we're connected. We're connected to people in Africa. We're connected to people in Asia. We're connected to people in Europe and everywhere. Okay, not because of the technology, but because we are connected by roots. Okay, so, and not only that, but we're also connected to the living beings and all of this. So what is Dharma then, right? If we're all connected, then what are the rules about this connection, right? Between you and I, what is the rule? Between me and the sentient beings, between the objects, the inanimate objects, a cell phone or petroleum or a car or a house or a tree, between all these things, what is the rule that governs these, right? And that's Dharma. So I think, what is Dharma? If we're all connected, then the things that connects us, the rules that connects us is what's called Dharma. Okay, now it's still a little bit abstract, but I think getting out from what Master was talking about last week in the morning Dharma talk, talking about rules, talking about that a couple of days ago, talking about how the rules of nature, how in the place of cultivation, there are also rules. There are rules about when do you wake up, when do you go to bed. These are the rules. And I was thinking that that's what Dharma essentially is. It tells you what happens when you do something and what happens when you don't do something, right? Just like the law, right? If you follow the law, there's nothing that will just be okay. If you don't follow the law, if you break the law, then something will happen. These are what's called the rules, right? You should do this, you shouldn't do this. You should do this and you shouldn't do this. And it tells you the outcome. And that's what these rules are, okay? For example, the relationship between people, right? You're nice to me and I am not so nice to them. Or when I see this person, inherently, naturally, I don't like them, right? So what happened? Why? Well, because maybe in the past life, you did something. Or maybe in this life, you did something, right? You owe them money and you don't repay. And not only that, you try to run away or you try to hide, things like that. And you don't recognize that. You don't acknowledge that. So maybe naturally the other person will not be happy with you. So it's a very simple rules that govern these relationships, right? Why certain things happen? People always ask, oh, I'm doing Tzu Chi already, right? So why is this terrible thing still happen to me? Why am I still losing my health? Why am I still getting sick? Why is this happening to my family? Why certain things happen? Dharma also explains why it happens. There's certain cause, and then there's certain condition, and then you get this effect, right? It's very simple and straightforward. These are the rules that govern everything in the universe, from why this happened to how this happened to when this happened. They're all connected, right? So these are the things that governs everything, and that's why we talked about. There are the four states, where the four states, right? The three states and the four phenomena that happen to each of these, right? The physical state, mental state, the spiritual state. All these things are governed by the rules, right? When something is created, it goes through a period where it changes, it morphs, and eventually it decays, and eventually it goes away. So these are the rules that tell us about things that we all exist in, right, in this world. And that's what Master talks about today, that Dharma and Buddhist Dharma, Buddha Dharma, isn't something that is only hidden in the sutra. In fact, it's talking about the things that's happening today still, because the rules don't change. People change, and nations change, knowledge change, but the rules between people, the rules between our earth and everything, they don't change, okay? So all these things happen because they all abide by the rules of nature or the universal rules. That is Dharma. And I think that if we have this appreciation for what Dharma is, if you can simply think of this, it could be very hard, it could be very difficult, but that's what the rules are. Rules are the rules, right? Master talks about if you plant the seed of a watermelon, right? You're not gonna get a pineapple out of it. You're gonna get watermelon out of it, right? It's very simple. You plant the seed, you're gonna get the fruit. And if there is no condition, if there is no matching, then the fruit won't come out. That's the rule, and it applies to everything. So that's what Dharma is. It's used to explain how all these things are connected and how all these things happen, right? So Buddha was enlightened, not because he invented these rules. He didn't go and write down the rules. No, he didn't. He discovered the rules. The rules were always there. The rules of nature, Dharma, as Master said it, right, is always there. Whether we know it or not, it's always there. Buddha was the one that said, hey, there is something that exists. There are these rules that exist among all the people, among all the things, among you and I, among you and the earth and the heaven, among you and the things that you don't see. There are rules that govern these, right? And he understood it. He discovered it. But it was always there. Just like electricity, it wasn't invented. It was discovered because it has always been there. Okay, and that's how Buddha was enlightened. And that is why I really believe that Buddha said everyone can be enlightened, because the rules were there for you to discover. The rules didn't go away. It's not like it's in front of the Buddha, so he was enlightened, but it's not in front of you, that's why you're not enlightened. No, it's not. It's all around us. So everyone can be enlightened only if you want to understand and abide by the rules, just like what the Buddha did. He discovered the rules and he understood the rules and he contemplated about the rules and then he abide by the rules. That's why he was enlightened. The rules are there all around you. The Dharma is all around you. Whether you want to be enlightened is up to you. If you want to understand, if you want to abide by them, then you can too. That's why Buddha said anyone, everyone absolutely can be enlightened. And the other thing is people are truly suffering, right? That's the first noble truth, is the life is suffering. People are suffering because they don't understand these rules. What does that mean? Let's suppose that you are playing a game, right? Whether it's a poker game or it's any kind of board game, or it could be anything, a game that you're playing. Now, if you're always messing up because you don't understand the rules, Buddha is like someone on the sideline who saw that you are upset, you are not happy, you are not enjoying your time because you don't know the rules and you keep on messing up the game. So people don't like you because you messed up the game. You don't like yourself because you're not enjoying yourself, because the game itself is not fun because you don't know how to play the game. So Buddha came in and explained to you how you should play the game. Why did you lose? Why did this happen? You do this, and that's what this happens. That's what happens. And then Buddha tells you how you can be better. Buddha tells you how certain things, why certain things happen, and how you can change that. So that's from a perspective of a teacher. A teacher can tell you about how to proceed, right? The teacher will always tell you, if you don't study, right? If you don't study, that you're not gonna have your life isn't gonna go well. That's what the teacher tells you. But it's up to you to decide if you wanna study hard, right? So that's what the Buddha says. Really, everybody can be enlightened because the rules is all around for you to understand, for you to see. And people are suffering because we don't understand the rules and we refuse to play by the rules, right? Just like COVID-19. Now the regulation from the government says that you should stay home, and there will be people that refuse to follow these rules, and they will be confronted by the enforcement, right? The law enforcement. And then they will not be happy, and the law enforcement will not be happy either because they're breaking the laws, they're breaking the rules. And so somebody will be telling them, hey, stop, follow the rules and everybody's okay. Everybody's taken care of. That's what the rules are, right? So it's very simple. It tells you stay home or keep a certain social distance. And that's all the rules. If you don't know the rules, you're not going to be enjoying. That's part of the suffering, okay? So seeing all this, the natural solution is what? For Buddha, now he sees the rules. He sees that people are suffering because they don't understand the rules, right? Why am I not happy? I'm making all this money, but I am not happy, right? So somebody like the Buddha or like the master or like a Tzu Chi volunteer will come to the person and say, you know why you're not happy? Because you're selfish. Now help somebody and then you will be happier, right? Look at the other person. They're not making as much money as you are, but they're happy. Why? Because they're participating in other people's lives, right? So you tell them the rules of how to be happy. And then people will say, okay, let me change. And maybe I will be happy too. So the natural solution is once the Buddha knows the rules of nature, the rules of the universe, and he saw that people are suffering because they don't understand the rules, the natural solution is teach everyone the rules. So all beings, all sentient beings can be enlightened, no longer suffer, because you would see the rules. You would abide by the rules. Even if bad things happen to you, you would know, just like what Master said, she's taking on this responsibility and things are happening to her health, but she knew that was what she had to withstand because that was whatever that was done in the past. So she withstood that. That was understanding the rules. And then she said, I'm going to set out to make my own future. That was also abiding by the rules. So the natural solution for the Buddha is to teach everybody these rules so then they will not be suffering anymore, so that they will be enlightened. And that's what the Buddha did. The Buddha gave us all, right, the skillful means, parables, and all the stories, and all the things you know, coming back to the Saha world again and again in different forms, using different ways to teach because we all have different capacities. That's what the Buddha was trying, right? Because the solution is to teach everybody the rules and the Dharma. But we refuse to learn and we refuse to acknowledge it, or we learned it and we understood it, but we refuse to do it, right? So the Buddha is still trying very hard. So is Master. That's the key, right? That's what Dharma it really is. It's all in front of us. It's all right there. It's the Dharma. It's the things that governs among people, between us and the world, right? Why did COVID-19 happen? Or, you know, why is the coronavirus happening? You know, why are people still refusing to acknowledge that perhaps being vegetarian is a very good way, right? It's like, I am telling you what we should do, but people are just not believing it. So they're still trying. Buddha is still trying. Master is still trying. And so are we, right? But really, what about us, right? Are we really trying, right? Which side are we on? Are we on the Buddha side? Are we on Master's side? Or are we on the other side that refuse to wake up, refuse to be enlightened, right? So it's like we have our eyes on us, but are we opening our eyes to see? Or are we seeing them and not doing anything about them? So which side are we on? Are we on the side of doing the right, or are we on the side of doing the wrong? And usually we say we're on the side of the Master, but are we really? So what about us? And that's what I really wanted to bring up from these couple of days. Master has been talking about the rules. Master has been talking about nature, now talking about COVID-19, and talking about being sincere. These are all the rules. Master is telling us the rules, what we need to do, right? It's like telling you to study chapter 1 through 20, and then you will do well on the test. She's telling you all the answers, but are we following them? Are we listening? Do we understand? And if we don't understand, what are we doing about it? And if we do understand, what are we doing about it, right? These are the very, very true things. As a teacher, Master is teaching us, but as a student, I think we're failing. We're failing to do what we needed to do. Okay, so that's what I think Dharma is. And I hope that through today's sharing, it will bring us a different perspective of what Dharma is. It's not something very deep, and it's not like it's like what Master said today. It's not just written in the sutra. And so when we're done today in the morning, and then you go off to your life, it will be something that's remain in the sutra. No, Dharma is just the rules that happen. For everything that happens, there's a rule governing it, and that's Dharma. And if you understand the rule governing it, you would be very at ease. You will be in peace with it because you knew why it happened. And you know that if you want to get it to happen a certain way, you know how to make it happen. Once you're in control, then that's when you are no longer suffering as an afflicted individual. And that's what Buddha is, okay? So we talked about, I want to talk about true emptiness and wondrous existence. And this is really exhibited in our Q&A, right? So the questions are true emptiness, right? We all have these questions, right? And the wondrous existence is the answer, but somehow maybe they're there, maybe they are not there. Maybe the answer is the true emptiness. We don't know. But there are some questions that I really want to get to as part of the sharing today. So question 9, this is a very long question, but I put out the very important part here. So the question was talking about in chapter 10, there was a verse, there was a part of the sutra in chapter 10, the teacher of Dharma, that talks about that, this is part of the sutra. It says, one should know these people already making offerings for multiple myriad amount of Buddhas. At this time, at these Buddha place, perform great vows, for they are compassionate for sentient beings, and they reborn in this world. So the question is it right to say that any man or creature able to hear just one line or one word of the sutra will be reborn in the human realm? So I went to the sutra to look for the actual text in Chinese, try to figure out what was the actual the question. So it's really talking about that for anyone follower of the Lotus Sutra, if you're willing to follow adhere and abide by the teachings and the spiritual teachings behind a phrase or a verse or a word of it, and you're willing to make offerings to all the Buddhas in the past, then they would be able to achieve enlightenment. And the last statement, if you understand Chinese, but I'm going to explain to you, the last phrase says, because they are compassionate for all the beings, so then they make the vow to be reborn in this world. Okay, so what is it? It's the vow, right? So the question asks, does that mean that if you just listen to one word and one phrase that you're going to become reborn in this world as human? So first of all, it's the vow and the will for the compassion and the compassion for the suffering sentient beings that bring us, that will these people back to this world, even though there's so many problems with this world, that the vow of continuing to come back. Like a master, right? Master always tell us that life after life that she's going to come back, right? So the vow and the will and unwillingness to see the suffering, the compassion that will bring and will us back, will this person back to this world, to the Saha world, okay? Reborn in this world. But there's nowhere in the sutra that says that you're going to be reborn as a human being, okay? No, it didn't say that. It just says that you're going to come back to this world, right? So in what form, right? They were truly depending on many factors, right? If you make good, if you did well, if you did uphold all the precepts, then you're going to come back to this world as a human being or a heavenly being. But also, if you have been reciting the Lotus Sutra during the time of I think before when the COVID-19 happened, we were reciting the wonderful powers of the Guanyin Bodhisattva, right? And in the verses it talks about whatever the sentient beings needs, she will manifest in that form, right? So that's the vow, right? The vow is to come back to this world, and whatever this world needs, if this world needs a king or a queen or a scholar or a saint or a sage, then they would come back as that person playing that role. Believe it or not, right? The one gorilla that we all know and love, her name was Coco, right? Could Coco have been coming back as a bodhisattva because that's what the world needs? Maybe. I don't know Coco, but perhaps, right? That's the vow, right? Coming back. In what form? That would depending on your vow, what you have done, and also what did the world need. The bodhisattva come back, not because I want to come back as a very saintly heavenly being because they all look very nice. No, it's not. They come back because the people and the sentient beings are suffering. They come back because there's a need for them, a role that was missing. And therefore they come back to play that role, to get every sentient being to understand the rules of the universe. That's why they keep on coming back, because they keep on seeing you are failing because you're not following the rules. Now follow the rules and you will not fail, okay? So that's the question. So next question. So somebody asked, and you know, whoever asked this question, I must say that I'm with you, okay? I'm with you, okay? So the person asked, I enjoy listening to Dharma, and then we all do, but it is so difficult to comply in my daily life. I think I'm with you there too, you know? And so the person said, I always feel bad when I link back how I handle one situation compared to what's stated in the Lotus Sutra. You know, it's not just in the Lotus Sutra. Trust me, everything that Master said, you know, you hear Master say something and then you link back to what you did and what you say, you go like, geez, you know, I wish I could just always listen to what Master says and not do the wrong things. But we always make these mistakes. What can I do? And honestly, there isn't a good answer, right? The answer is only practice. Keep on doing it, okay? Eventually, you will be so good at it that it becomes like normal, okay? What does that mean to be normal? Like breathing, right? You are born with it, but you become better at it because if you don't, then you don't breathe, right? So you breathe and you breathe every day. It's like chewing, right? It's like chewing. You chew every day. You move your mouth every day, but you still bite your tongue sometimes. You still make mistakes. Same thing. The more you do, the more it becomes better. The more it becomes better, the more it becomes normal. When it becomes the new norm, when it becomes the normal, then you know that you have reached the next plateau. Like wearing a mask. Before it was difficult. Before you have to keep on making sure that you put it on. After a while, it stays on. It becomes a new norm. Let me give you an example. We used to say thank you, right? 谢谢. We used to say this before wearing Tzu Chi. This is what we say. Oh, just throw it around, right? Now we say 感恩 with palms together. I remember that in a different setting, 10 years ago, years and years ago, I was on stage. I was a volunteer back then, but I was doing some public speech for something else. And at the end, I put my palms together and I say thank you. I don't know why I did that. It became so much a norm, right? A norm that it became part of me that I didn't even think about doing this, and it just came out. Same thing, because you did it so often, you practice it so often that you hear everybody do it around you, then it becomes you. It will just happen. You just keep on practicing. So yes, listening to it more and slowly do it eventually. That is why the Bodhisattva path is a very long path, because it takes time to grow onto it, to grow into it, and to become habitual, right? So last question, and I really want to get to this question because it's a wonderful question, right? What's the difference between Buddha path and Bodhisattva path, right? Why do we always say walking on the Bodhisattva path and not walking on the Buddha's path? First of all, not many people say Buddha path, right? Not many people. I'm sure some said it, but I will take your question and let's try to, in my opinion, let's try to answer it, right? So Buddha path, I think what it means is a path that is based on the teachings of the Buddha. And then you're gonna say to me, Brother Joe, are you talking about that Bodhisattva path is not a path that's based on teaching of the Buddha? No, that's not what I meant. What I'm trying to say is it's like this, right? The Buddha's path is like an exercise machine ad, right? It's an ad for an exercise machine. You see people with perfect ab muscle, right? Very fine toned muscle, right? They're all lean and they're all very thin, right? It has all the pictures of the finished result, right? All these men and women, they're all so finely toned and their muscles and they're so lean and they're so good looking, right? All the pictures of the finished product, right? We see the Buddha always so peaceful and loving and compassion, right? All the pictures of the finished product. And it shows you how you can achieve these results, right? The sutras tells you, do this, do this, do this, do this, and then you will get there, right? And it says anyone can get there too, right? The ad will always say, get these perfect ab by using this ab roller every day, you'll get there, right? So that's what the Buddha path is, right? But the truly is, Bodhisattva path is like actually going to the gym, right? You see the machines and it's all very good. But actually going to the gym is like the path itself, right? Each one has the aspiration. We all have the aspiration, right? And it takes perseverance and endurance. It's not just written down. It's actually doing it, getting to the finished results, right? So anyone can get the result, but not everyone gets there. That's the key, right? The Bodhisattva path is the actual manifestation, the actual embodiment of all the teachings. It's actually going to the gym. That's the hard part, right? So all the beautiful pictures and telling you all the rosy things, right? Oh, the world, once you're enlightened, is filled with the wonderful marbles, right? And the ground is filled with diamonds and the jewels and the trees are all beautiful. I'm telling you, that's like the models that's posing for the exercise machine, right? Perfect ab, no fats, and everybody is so lean. That's like a perfect picture. And it tells you, you can be like that too. Yes, we know we can become Buddha too. But how do you do that? Well, it will take a very, very long time. Okay, it will take a very, very long time. But everybody can get there. Anyone can get the result, but not everybody gets there. Why? Because too many people stop in the middle. Why? Because they stop following the rules. So once again, that's why Buddha keep on coming back to teach us the rules. If you follow the rules, abide by the rules, you're going to get there. Perfectly toned body. Okay, you're going to get there. Okay, so that's my sharing for today. I'm so happy to finally get to 3 questions. But that's my sharing for today. I'm sorry I'm a little bit over time. But share with everybody. That's what Dharma is. Don't be afraid. It's not hard. It's not deep. If we're willing to open our minds, it's there. It's all around us. When you open your minds to it, you will realize how deep it is. But first step, open your hearts. It's not something that stays and remains in the sutra. It's in our lives, like Master said today, this morning. Okay? Thank you so much. And let's all go to the gym. No, let's not all go to the gym. No, let's all make sure that we practice. Okay? Practice makes perfect. And then has the aspiration and the perseverance and endurance to get to the finished product. Let's be that person. Let's not just say, we can do that, but no, we're not going to do that. Okay, so follow the rules, abide by the rules. That's the Dharma. Thank you all. Thank you.
感恩 Brother Joe for such wonderful and interesting insights. We all have a very a good day.感恩 brothers and sisters. Today we have a sharing by Sister Aichu, our US Santa Rosa volunteer, a very diligent sister. She's one of the pioneer in Dharma's translation to English. We have benefited from her in the past. As well as today, we are very grateful to have opportunity to hear from Sister Aichu on her sharing on these disasters relief on the 2 fires. Okay, over to you, Sister Aichu.感
恩. Thank you so much. Good morning, everyone. Before I start, I'd like everyone to close your eyes and think about the worst disasters you have ever experienced. Because earlier, Sister talked about the disaster. And what I'm going to report to you is about the biggest disasters I had experiences, and also our Santa Rosa office had experiences. The North California Tub and Kincaid fires. First one, 2017, October 8th. I was actually in Jing, Hualien, doing the 4-in-1 training after the first TIMA meeting I went to, and Santa Rosa was on fire. We lost that much money, and burned that huge area and destroyed so many buildings. And I was really worried. And when I came back on October 25th, my home is the one in the light blue circle. Our home and 2 houses on each side were okay, but everything, 900 plus neighbors' homes were burnt. When I came back, I was like walked into a war zone, unbelievable. I could smell the smoke and I saw nothing. Everything was empty. That really it was so clear to me, life is so impermanent. You never know what's going to happen. So I wish everyone has a to-go kit. To go back somewhere in your home, because whatever you want to take with you, you want to be ready. Okay, because of that, I figured my home was safe. There must be a reason. So I went to the Tzu Chi Northern California's efforts in Santa Rosa from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m., helping, comforting, and distributing cash cards to 1,400 families in the local disaster center, and also volunteers from all over Northern California was cooking vegetarian food for local assistance center community volunteers, and to promote vegetarian food and also to show them our love and compassion. After the first phase cash card distribution, Northern California decided for our long-term recovery, we're going to focus on the oldest and the poorest community. It's called the Journey's End Mobile Home Park. And this is one of the survivor, and that you can see her home was all burnt. And also, I was involved in the local Rebuild Our Community Sonoma effort for all the time. And if you go to, I was one of the steering committee member and disaster case manager, and also emotional, spiritual, and physical care member, trying to do whatever I can, whatever Tzu Chi can to help the community. And for the Journey's End folks, Sister Jenny Yao, Brother Howard Tong, and Brother Ming Jing, the CEO of Northwestern region, we decided on organizing a Tzu Chi Northern California head office visit for all the Journeys and folks. And you can see we rented a bus, and I was there showing them how to qigong and to relax on the bus right there. Once we are there, we first started with a Tzu Chi prayer, and we showed them the Jing bookstore. Then, thanks to the wonderful North California sisters, the community education program, they brought the tea serving ceremony program to these Journeys and folks, and some of our volunteers helping them. And we start the ceremony with a meditation. And after the vegetarian lunch, tea serving ceremony, and flower arrangement workshop, we also gave them some exercise to help them relax and give them some physical, emotional, and spiritual care to release their pressure. And that's the end. Everyone was happy. We took a whole family picture. This is a traditional smiling face for Tzu Chi family. And talking about our neighbor's recovery, this is one of our neighbor. She received the Tzu Chi cash distribution in 2017. And then this is our house we built November 2019. And if you come to our neighborhood right now, all my 900 neighbors, more than 90% of them have better, newer homes. However, just last October, my neighbor across the street just moved in her wonderful new home, and we got a warning. King cake fire is coming. It destroyed 31,500 acres and destroys 174 homes and damaged that many homes. But this time, more than 90,000 buildings were threatened. And this time, all the county and city government and the employees and people learned from the top fire. We had mandatory evacuation for more than 200,000 people. And I was home. Actually, I was taking a bus from San Francisco home, and my bus driver said, "Sorry, we cannot go home now. We need to find some place. We cannot go to Santa Rosa." So I called my friend in Rona Park, and I stayed in her home for 5 days for the mandatory evacuation. And this is the map. Jing Bo sister gave it to me to show master. These are the area, the damaged area, and Santa Rosa is right there. And you can see the red, bright red area is where the homes were destroyed. So Santa Rosa folks escaped this time, even though we were all mandatory evacuated. Therefore, North California decided these are the relief effort that was done. Right after the fire, Master Cheng already sent her love and care to folks here. So I passing down to me, and I called our volunteers and members to convey Master's love and care. And then Brother Mingjing, our Northern California CEO and the disaster relief lead, and Brother Howard, they went to 8 shelters to assess the needs. I went with them to the last 2 in Santa Rosa. Based on the assessment, we decided to give them exactly what they need right now. 1,000 blankets at the 2 largest shelter in Santa Rosa. And guess what? North California folks, 35 brothers and sisters, they take time off to come to help with this distribution. it was a whole day effort. They didn't leave Santa Rosa until about 8 p.m. that day. And after that, Northern California folks are busy with the Paradise Fire, which is even larger fire, and Tzu Chi gave out about 10,000 cash cards because 10,000 families' homes were burnt. So Brother Minjing said, Aizhu, could you now just focus on, take the lead to comfort the survivors for the Kincaid fire and take the lead to help. Therefore, we decided that we will help the local assistance center in Hillsburg and assess the damage. And based on Tzu Chi's principle, direct, and focused. So based on that, we decided to just give out quick cash cards to the families whose homes were completely destroyed. This time, only 25 families 25 families had destroyed homes. And also this time, we don't have American Red Cross assistance. So I had to drive with another volunteer to take pictures, to assess the damage, because we need to be responsible to our donors. Okay. On the day where we should help with the local assistance center, that's our regular sutra study time. So I still listen to Master's teaching on V-Meet, and you can see that's our setup for sutra study, and that's my notes every time. And that day happened to be the winter distribution that we already scheduled months ago. So all 7 volunteers were there. We sang the Tzu Chi prayer together with Master's blessing. We went out to distribute the backpacks. And on the left, you can see I prepared a clipboard for each volunteer. On the clipboard, a beautiful Jing aphorism, laminated, has English and a picture in Chinese there, and there's a sign-up sheet. So every volunteer will hold on to this, and in front of a backpack package, we will say, this is the blessing from our master and all the Tzu Chi volunteers to bring you this blessing, and they can read the Jing aphorism. Then we bow to them, and we ask them to sign to be responsible to the donor, and we give them the backpack that they want. And you can see for our breakfast service or for our winter distribution, we also bring our master's photo with us to give them blessings. I want to call your attention to this volunteer, Caucasian volunteer. He actually came to our breakfast service to Street Friends every Monday morning a few years ago. And I volunteered to teach Tai Chi Qigong to everyone coming to our breakfast service. So he came for coffee and breakfast, and then he learned Qigong from me. And then he came to our English book club. Then he became our volunteer. And guess what? He's also a volunteer for Catholic Charities there. And that year, last year, he was voted the best volunteer at Catholic Charities. So brother, we're very grateful to have him. Here are just some pictures I took on my assessment of the damage, and also 2 Ukiah volunteers, Brother Duell and Sister Josie. They took pictures for damaged homes in the north. I want to call your attention to this picture. When the other volunteer and I came to this home, where all the neighbors had beautiful homes, nothing was damaged, we say, hey, strange, because every home damage was complete damage. How come this home is so perfect? And then we walk to the side. If you see the picture on the right, there, the fire just came. Do you see the gray circle? The fire came from the roof and get into the home and burned everything. Life is really impermanent. The whole neighborhood was fine and her home was damaged like this. Okay, we decided to start distribution on the week, November 11th. Again, that's a Monday. Monday morning is our regular sutra day. So I did my sutra study, and it happened to be that day when Master talked about holiday, vacation. And Master gave holiday a new definition that I've never heard before. The Chinese character holiday means, if you can interpret the other way, it's fake day. So Master said, holiday should not be fake day. We should, yeah, if you take that day off, that means you're not doing anything. Then that day is false to you. It's not a true day to you. That's really something enlightening to me. And then Monday, that was lunar 15th, November 11th. And when I was the director from 2016 to 2020, I really like to have the volunteers help to make our office with has the warmth of home and has the tranquility of Dharma. So every lunar first, we recite Infinite Meaning Sutra and pray for the whole world and have vegetarian potluck to promote vegetarianism. And every lunar 15th, we have Lotus Sutra. So that day, Lotus Sutra. To prepare the cash distribution, you can see I clean up our office, have our flag and our banner in the yard for survivors to park their car in our parking lot. And on the table, I prepare my binder. I carry that binder with me whenever I have chance. There's one flyer from US headquarters and one flyer from North California, and also Master's red envelope. And on the other side is our monthly newsletter, so everyone can be invited to anything that interests them. On the upper left is our bookstore, Jingsi bookstore with Jingsi products. On the lower left, I had leftover red envelopes for the survivors' family with Master's blessing and also the bamboo banks. So now the office is ready to start our cash distribution. And when we explain the money does not come from any government, the money comes from kind people's kind heart. And if they're interested, they can adopt a bamboo bank. So the bamboo banks were adopted and I took out more. On the right is one survivor. His home has a gate that's locked. So he offered this picture to show me how his home was damaged. And also we have better evidence to bring to our record. This is the family with the most people, 6 people. Since they have young girl who's school kid, we had some extra backpack. We gave her this backpack for her school. And also, if the family needs blanket, we gave them the blanket made from recycled water bottle. They were very impressed. And you can see the cash card they're holding is what we gave out. And after that, I said, do you have 5 minutes? I'd like to bring to you the whole Tzu Chi volunteers community, our master's prayer to your family. And every one of them said yes. So I brought them to our Tang, the Buddha Hall, and I play the Tzu Chi prayer. If they are weak and old, I have chairs for them if they want to sit down. If they want to stand with me and pray, they could do that too. And every one of them really loved the Tzu Chi prayer. And so I told them, this is actually on YouTube. I gave them the link if they want to listen to the prayer every day. Here are more prayers by the survivor family. You can see everyone was very touched. I want to call your attention to this brother. I mean, when he came, his hands were very dirty. His truck has a lot of things from his burnt home. So he said, "Oh, I apologize for my dirty hands because I was working on that." I said, "Don't worry." And he prayed so sincerely. And in the end, he said, "Can I have 2 bamboo bamboo banks? One for me and one for my brother." I was very touched. Yeah. So I think even though they're getting the help from us, they want to pay. They want to have the circle of love going on and save their love to pass on to other folks in need. So those are the slides I shared. And I also want to share with you this video. For this, I want to thank Brother Joe Huang, because I went to his teaching it's remote teaching to our commissioner's training. He told us charity is not to give people things, it's to give them hope. That's why in our breakfast service or winter distribution, we always share with them the bamboo bank story, and I sing love and care for them, and I try to give them home. This is just a video. And that day I had an accident, but I like to share with you. Can you hear me? Can you hear the song? Hello?
Yes, I can hear.
Today from you all. Do you know Tzu Chi started by our founder master with only 30 housewives, saving 1 penny a day in 1966? But now, do you want to guess how many volunteers and donors we have all over the world?
4 million.
More. See, the reason we're sharing this story with you is no matter where you are today, as long as you know where you want to go, step by step, little by little, penny by penny, we'll wish you to reach your victory, okay? Victory for all. Okay, let's get started. Yeah, that's before our winter distribution. And I want to share with you, that's one of the most touching story I experienced in Tzu Chi life. That first day, I told them the bamboo bank story. The next Monday, a lady who has some mental problem, sometimes she shouted at people and people are afraid of her. She came to me right away with a handful of bamboo banks. With a handful of coins. And she dropped those coins into our bamboo bank. I was so touched, because that means not only she listened to my sharing of the bamboo bank story, but also she remembered to bring the coins from home and bring to this breakfast distribution Monday morning and gave it to me to put in the bamboo bank first thing before anything. That's very touching. And the last thing I want to share with you is our monthly event newsletter. Like this time when I went to Hualien to be a volunteer, I bought the cheap airplane ticket so I couldn't have carry-on luggage. That's why I couldn't bring my binder with me. I only bring this piece of paper with me to share with people what Tzu Chi is and what events Tzu Chi has, and to enrich their spiritual tranquility and to bring any warmth. So these are the things we do. Since I'm a second generation Wu Tai Chi disciple, I offer Wu Tai Chi voluntarily to people. And one donor from Ukiah drives more than an hour each Monday and Thursday to come to Santa Rosa to learn it. So these are the things we do. And to bring the warmth of family, we have first Saturday
well, monthly birthday celebration and vegan potluck, trying to bring warmth and vegetarianism to our community. And we have walking meditation after our lunch. That's all my sharing for today. Does anybody have any questions? And I want to thank Brother Joe Huang again for the wonderful sharing before my sharing, and also for Joe Huang to let me know that charity is not to give them things. We want to bring hope to them. And so thank you. 感恩.
Each other before. I'm not too sure when is it already. Okay, basically just now as you was telling us that the prayer that you make before the activity is very good because it can be calm down our mind, and then we can do later on all the activity mindfully. And then during the disaster relief, I believe that for the cash distribution, sometimes we may have a different opinion on how much we should give to all these people that should get the cash distribution. But anyway, our Master Cheng always tell us that we really have to give what they need, and also the amount that can be overcome their difficulties as well. And just now, Sis Aizu also mentioned that the definition of the holiday, paid day. But of course, for Master was saying that it's a xiu mean is a practical days that you can diligently doing things as well. Okay, and I believe that she has done a lot of good things in her how should I say the area, and then has spread a very good seed to everyone and care for others because she loved to share the bamboo bank story. And then the bamboo bank story, in fact, is have to be carried out daily, and also speak to everyone more frequently because everyone can make it. And I hope that we are okay. Sorry. We hope that everyone can engage in independence, give rise to sincerity, protect all living things, and follow a vegetarian diet, and pray for peace on the earth. And I believe that Dr. Tan in UK, I hope that she can have a very speedy recovery soon. Thanks a lot. 感恩。
感恩师父。
感恩袁师父，感恩 for the prayer wishes. Yeah, we heard from Dr. Tan's family that she's recovering well. She's very thankful to all the Tzu Chi families, the global families, for the constant prayers. 感恩 is indeed very powerful. The prayers is sent up really to the 10 directions. She's recovering well. 感恩 There's so many people we are very grateful to. 感恩师父。Yuan Sifu, 感恩 Brother Joe, 感恩 Sister Aichu for lots of heartfelt and wisdom sharing. Thank you, brothers and sisters, for your presence today. Hope that each of us could sustain the Dharma joy and take in another piece of Dharma Master and Hualien love to our life. Let us please make 3 vows to the Buddha and Dharma Master as we depart to apply these teachings in our daily life. Let us pay our respects to our teachers of life, universal truth. Palms together. First bow. Second bow. Third bow. And a bow to our beloved Sifu who are joining us today and give us lots of wisdom. 感恩师父，感恩师父。